This is Witchbase News for Friday the 2nd of May 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, the game sees perhaps the most comprehensive patch notes ever as Colonisation Economies kick into gear. There's buckets of credits and module rewards to be had in a new community goal, and Galnet strides forward alongside an expanding Trailblazer Frontier. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ping the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. There's a brand new 2-week long community goal starting this week that presents a double opportunity that is worth shouting about. The CG is a two-sided mining centric affair asking for vast quantities of mined platinum to be delivered to one of 2 megaships belonging to the power play leaders Yuri Grom or Felicia Winters. This goal is completely neutral to any power play allegiance you may already have, by the way. Anyone contributing to either goal will receive a fully engineered 1D abrasion blaster with long range modification upon the goal's completion. However, should the power player that you chose to support win the community goal, then the top 75% of participants in the CG will also receive an additional abrasion blaster, again fully engineered, and those module rewards are of course alongside the usual credit rewards that accompany a CG. Reward wise, that is just part of the story. If you're pledged to either power and they win the CG, then you'll also receive a not insubstantial 40,000 power play merits and a power play banner cockpit customization. However, the real bonus for this CG may lie in the mined commodity prices themselves. For handing in the platinum at one of the CG markets, you will receive a 4 times multiplier on the usual price for the commodity. If you're looking to fund something like a fleet carrier purchase, then this week might be the chance you've been waiting on to make some very serious coin. Just one quick point to note, the CG drop off points are both in the system LP 855-34 at respective megaships for the 2 powers. When both Rini and I checked first thing this morning, neither megaship was showing up in the system on the nav panel or in the system map, even after a scan of the system's nav beacon. If you have trouble finding them, as at the time of recording at least, the ships are present in POIs that are in orbit of Planet 1 and Planet 1b of the system, but we didn't detect them until we were right on top of them. Just be aware if you are having trouble finding them. Patch 3 to the Trailblazers update landed in the game this week, and aside from the regular bug fixes and tweaks, of which there are many by the way, it's likely that this patch to the colonisation feature of Elite Dangerous will be remembered as, far and away, one of the most important and significant ever. The economics of Trailblazers has, since its launch 2 months ago, proven to be the least understood and honestly least functional part of the colonisation feature. For the vast majority of the feature's runtime thus far, it appeared that no matter the kind of installation, starport or outpost you constructed, all your brand new economy was going to be able to produce at any significant scale was bio-waste. There's plenty of fun to be had, of course. The enthusiasm with which the community has taken to hauling the vast quantities of construction materials is plain to see. As we've reported on this channel before, the bubble around Sol as was has now changed beyond all recognition, and particularly if you've been playing Elite Dangerous for the last 10 years, the galaxy will never be quite the same. But there was no getting away from it. Regardless of how far humanity had spread, we'd very much taken our bio waste with us and also spread that far and wide. But regardless of what the definition of a beta might be, Trailblazers was monikered as such by FDev, but it wasn't, I would suggest, perhaps as feature complete as we had been led to understand. With the implementation of patch 3 and in particular with a dive into the patch notes for it, we are now seeing more of what Frontier had in mind. Let's talk about those aforementioned patch notes while we're here. We've been reporting on Elite Dangerous for around 7 years now, and in all that time I think these might be the most extensive and detailed patch notes I've ever seen, particularly in regards to detailing the functioning of a new feature. And in many regards the patch notes for update 3 can be held up as the much needed economy feature documentation that the community had been craving. In essence, what has now changed and what is documented in the notes, complete with a diagram, is the introduction of the correct economic links between outposts, starports and planetary ports and their supporting settlements and installations, etc. I won't break down the entirety of everything that has been documented in the patch as, quite honestly, the notes themselves do a sterling job of that, and you're likely going to need to concentrate on them significantly before you take it in properly. But in very broad terms, here is what has changed. Those economic links I spoke of come in two flavours, strong and weak. Strong links are formed between constructions that are on or around the same planetary body. Weak links form between constructions on or around separate planetary bodies. Ultimately, the links cause goods of the appropriate economy types to appear in the highest tiered port on or around a given body. The hosting body or star can also cause a boost to the strength of a link, increasing its productivity, or have a detrimental effect, giving the opposite result. Again, this is all fairly well documented in the patch notes, but for example, a tourism economy will be boosted by the presence of an Earth-like world or stellar remnants such as neutron stars and white dwarfs. An extraction economy will be boosted by a system with pristine resources or orbiting a body with volcanism present, and its effectiveness will be decreased in a system with low or depleted reserves. Once again, there's a lot more granularity to it, and again that's documented, but that's the executive overview of it. Perhaps, as you'd imagine, the overall output efficiency of a facility is driven by the population numbers associated with that facility. More people equals more product. Until this update, that number had been at a reduced level in order for FDev to evaluate balancing issues, but as you'll see in our next article, those numbers have now been significantly increased, meaning more production, increasing the flow of goods and potentially increasing the flow of credits going to the architect of a system. It's going to be fascinating to see what commanders do with Trailblazers now that it's apparently in a more functional state. Theoretically at least, it seems likely that it's now possible to create self-sustaining economies within a system, and even perhaps mutually beneficial economies across multiple adjacent star systems that could all feed into and service each other's needs. As I've mentioned, there's a lot more to the patch, including changes to merit increases, etc., which are worth taking in if you're engaging in power play. And if you're in occupied space and not engaging in power play, by the way, I'd recommend giving it a look. It's really good fun. Suffice to say, you'll find the patch notes linked in the description below this video. A story appeared on the in-game Galnet newsfeed this week documenting the mass migration of citizens away from the core systems of the former bubble to the many pastures new now being created as a result of the Trailblazers' effort in-game. The story acts as a nice in-law reason why the patch that we reported on earlier in the show has resulted in much higher population numbers now appearing in recently colonised systems. The story also makes note that the Brewer Corporation is now offering what essentially equates to paint jobs for your newly constructed starports and outposts, etc., something that was alluded to by Frontier towards the start of this year. That feature is also something that arrived with the patch this week, and should you wish to ask yourself a paint job for your own constructions, you'll now find a facility customization option off the main station services menu when you're docked at your own starport or outpost. For the now much more commercially aware version of Frontier, certainly when it comes to all things Elite Dangerous at the very least, I can't imagine a scenario where this isn't going to turn into another healthy revenue stream for them going forward. To get slightly tin-foily for a moment, it also struck me that the mass spread of humans away from the core systems and out into newly populated space might play quite nicely into the Thargoid human sleeper agent theory I'm still very keen on. Lest we forget for a moment, there was an ominous image detected in the noise from the dead Thargoid Titan vessels at the end of last year that appeared to be telegraphing human figures with Thargoid symbology underneath, further adding weight to the fears around the millions of kidnapped and then recovered civilians that we've reported on here before having been altered in some way. The imps and the feds still have their people under observation. The Happy Clappy Alliance released their recovered people back to their homes. I'm just not convinced that story is going to be left hanging, and the invasion may not yet actually be over. And elsewhere in the piece it was noted that the Trailblazer megaships that provided logistical support in the early days of colonisation appear to have served their initial purpose and will soon be withdrawn and redeployed into other roles. Overall, the article had the feeling of Trailblazers moving into a new phase, particularly when taken in context with the patch this week that aims to give the expansion its sense of purpose. We've often talked on this channel about the new version of Frontier developments working out of Cambridge that we think we're detecting having come through the darker years and days leading up to the end of 2023. There is a new optimism, and as I've mentioned, they're undoubtedly much more commercially aware and, to be brutally honest, altogether more sensible with how they fund Elite Dangerous. It's an altogether brighter outlook overall for our favourite space game these days. The article this week contains these words about the human migration, which really leapt out at me, saying that it was, quote, fuelled by a hope for a new chapter, the chance to become part of a new frontier, end quote. If this is just pure coincidence and turn of phrase, or actual signalling by the new aware Frontier developments that is now walking besides its player base again, particularly in a week, let us not forget, that also saw the announcement of the Panther Clipper Mark II, I'll leave up to you to decide. You'll find our video on that linked on screen now in case you missed it. Whatever the case, I'm glad that they're not only back in the game with us, but also that the game appears to be getting bigger and bigger as the weeks and months roll on. In December 2023, I think most of us would have struggled to believe quite where we'd be less than a year and a half later. Who will you be supporting in the Great Platinum Rush community goal? Have you changed your plans for colonisation off the back of this week's update, and do you believe the Thargoids have not yet completed their insidious plans? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.